I'm very pleased to introduce today's guest, LaRese Purnell, co-owner and managing partner of CLE Consulting Firm, a downtown accounting, tax, and payroll company. In 2015, LaRese created the Real Black Friday, a directory that promotes 300 to 400 local Black-owned businesses as a way to provide additional support. As the founder of the Real Black Friday, he's devoted to giving back by encouraging small business development and financial literacy within the Black community. LaRese is committed to the community and its residents, serving on a variety of board of directors, and he is the author of Financial Foundations, Building Financial Freedom, One Tool at a Time, where he uses everyday language to address the most fundamental questions people have about money. He was named by Cleveland Magazine as one of the most interesting people of 2021, and he is a Leadership Cleveland alumnus of the class of 2022. We are honored to have him join us today. So without further ado, LaRese, I turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Angela, and to all the leadership team of the Cleveland Leadership Center. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, and a lot of you guys are familiar with the work. I'm going to jump right in. We only have a few minutes, so I want to make sure that I leave you with some questions at the end. So I'm going to share my screen, and please don't hesitate to take pictures of the screens so you can have this information for at a later date as well.
Y'all know that we hit the goal. $636,000.
Shout out to the Real Black Friday. This is everything. I've never been to anything like this at All-Star. I've been to a lot of All-Stars. I've never seen them focus on Black people, Black entrepreneurs in the city. So give yourselves a round of applause.
First and foremost, Ivy, I'm from Bedrock, that gave us an opportunity to actually host this event during NBA All-Star Weekend. But so I'm going to give you an award today on behalf of the Real Black Friday, just to thank you. So when you look at your desk, I want you to remember this day and what you were able to give us access to do right here in the city of Cleveland.
We were able to get our name out there, new followers, new customers, and network with a lot of people. And a lot of people came out and shopped.
Cleveland, the Real Black Friday has impacted my business because it's allowed me to showcase my products and what I love to do, what I have a passion to do. It allowed me to share this with Cleveland, not only Cleveland, but the world. So I'm very excited for this opportunity that's been given to me to do so.
Black business.
So I wanted to share that video, one, because when you see presentations, in a lot of cases, you don't really get to feel the energy from what you're actually reading or hearing about. So I felt that I wanted to start the presentation with showing you the experience. Now I'm going to kind of break down what the Real Black Friday truly is and who we are as an organization. Okay, I'm so sorry. Just okay, there we go. Everyone can see my screen, correct? We're all good to go. Okay, so first of all, just a little history about the Real Black Friday. Why? A lot of people ask me this question when they want to learn about the Real Black Friday. One, as Black business owners, most times they're first generation business owners. most Black-owned businesses, they don't make it past a year, and especially 5 years. Post-pandemic, it was predicted that 40 to 45% of Black-owned businesses will close their door and no longer exist. So we can understand as business professionals what that does to a very familiar topic to most, what it does to impacting the racial wealth gap, because we know two areas in the Black community that really, lend to creating wealth is home ownership and business ownership. And then limited access to resources as far as access to capital, marketing, and other resources that help to make sure that we alleviate that 1 year of those businesses closing their doors. And then impact of small businesses in their immediate communities and building morale, and it empowers everyone. As you guys, I wanted to make sure I shared that video with you because you saw the excitement, the empowerment, the involvement, the collaboration that took place. And also it will provide jobs for people in the community. In some cases, even to individuals that find difficulties finding employment opportunities, because due to greater demand and profitability helps them to be able to create more jobs. Because the average Black business across America averages 2 to 5 employees. But again, if we can increase profitability, and it was something done by Forbes recently where they said that when they surveyed 3,500 Black businesses, less than 10% of them felt that they were profitable. So we understand how that impacts them with employing businesses. About the Real Black Friday, Angel talked about, started in 2015, and it was about building awareness and creating educational and networking opportunities right here in our community. But the key thing was experiencing and providing exposure and access to Black-owned businesses throughout Northeastern Ohio. And as you'll be able to hear a little later on as well, is not just the Black-owned businesses, but the community as a whole. So then we worked with 500 to 600 businesses since our inception and industries. In this community, we have 3 things we always say. We have salons and barbershops, we have restaurants, and we have churches. But there are other businesses. So you as corporate leaders and professionals, when you're looking to support from a DE&I or a CRA perspective, there are educational organizations that exist in Northeastern Ohio. You have medical organizations that attend our event, professional firms, construction firms, landscaping here, restaurants, retail and nonprofits, and other industries as well. We have hosted over 20 in-person or hybrid events since our inception with an attendance of over 100,000 people. And that video you saw, I was corrected, as you guys are going to see, by DCA and a couple other organizations that use artificial intelligence for the event for NBA All-Star, that over 55,000 people were in attendance over a 2-day period. So you can imagine the impact that had. But from a financial impact perspective, we've impacted businesses over $5 million since our inception. And then our flagship event that I'll talk a little more about is in the second week of August of every year. Now, a couple of examples of impact. I shared about the NBA All-Star that took place. It was the first time in the NBA's history that they featured Black-owned businesses during their weekend. We were able to have over 210 Black-owned businesses from our region be featured. Over 57,000 people attended. We provided activities. With the importance of having the Real Black Friday was, again, not just for the businesses, but we didn't want a national event to come into our city and people right in our backyard were not able to be a part of this activity. So it was about the young people that were able to attend. We had a basketball court, if anybody remembers, at Tower City, right in the center of Tower City. So the NBA had celebrity guests that attended. So it was about exposure again to the community. Then we did something that was very powerful. We called it Bring It Back Day. You may say, what is that? Faith Community United Credit Union is located right on Union and 93rd Street. They're the largest Black-owned credit union in the state of Ohio, right here in our city. We worked with the community leaders, businesses, and members. In a 4-hour period of time, we deposited collectively $785,000. Now, we'll be replicating that event this year, and it'll be called $1 Million Week. So we'll be looking for corporations, other nonprofit, and business members to participate in that event. And the other thing is, I see a couple partners here on the phone today. We've been able to also do training. So when we talk about education, when we talk about access to capital and making sure that we are able to provide that to these business owners, well, we have to make sure we provide them the tools to be effective and to be able to capitalize on these opportunities. Because I always say the worst thing is to be invited to the table and be unprepared and never be invited back when you're prepared. So we want to make sure that we provide those tools to make sure that they're ready for those opportunities. So over the last 2 years, we've been able to work with about 650 Black-owned businesses, and we were able to train them on areas as far as marketing, service, strategic planning, HR, accounting, and taxes. And you guys can see the list goes on. So one thing that I'm known for, like Angela talked about, is we're an accounting firm. So for me, being an owner of an accounting firm, numbers are big to me. So what I'm known for in the community as the founder of this organization is putting real transparent numbers so people can see what collaboration means. And what the impact it can infuse into our community. So the Real Black Friday, that weekend, 14 hours, Tower City, we had an event in Lyndhurst, Ohio as well. We had 209 Black-owned companies. And you can see we put out a goal of $500,000 and we were able to exceed that. So you see, I put the attendance at 13 to 15,000, but I was corrected, and thank God for artificial intelligence on the real numbers that really existed. But beyond that, it is our commitment. What we as an organization don't want to do is ask you to be collaborative, ask you to make an economic impact, and we don't. So we even share what we spend with that event, and we work with Black-owned companies, from sound companies to electricians, to having nurses on site, to having food trucks, to having the stage company, entertainment. So we're able to find these companies and make sure that we infuse dollars back into them. I know we're running, I have to run quick now. I have a few more minutes so we can have time for questions. But how can you help? Can't leave this conversation with encouraging you as I share this information. You can pledge and set goals for spending with Black-owned businesses, not just on one occurrence, but how do you support them over a long period of time? Attend events and volunteer at future business or community-related events. Mentor a small business and provide access and opportunities to your tools, network, and resources. And I can proudly say KeyBank adopted CLE last year. They helped us get internships. They helped me go through Cleveland leadership. They helped me do other things in this community so we can make impact. So as your organization, have you committed or given access to a small business owners that would not typically have access to the sort of resources you have? Increase your minority spend as a company and set metrics. I see Bob on here from the YMCA, and they know we're intentional as a board to not just talk about it, but make sure we put tools in place to make sure we execute. Create board and advisory positions for small business owners. They are the true voice of our community. They are the ones that are on East 93rd with their business. They're on 116th. They're on Kinsman and Miles. They're the ones that the community members are talking about their needs. They're talking about their wants in their community. So have their voices be heard at the decision-making level in your organization. Leave positive Google reviews as you visit those businesses. Follow their businesses on social media platforms and share them. A lot of you guys, I see a lot, again, familiar faces, and you guys share my content, and I appreciate it, and that helps me to make impact. So quickly, we're doing something called a cash mob. What we did was we got on social media, over 20,000 votes in 24 hours just this week. And we let the community choose 2 businesses. And what we're going to intentionally do, and I've said on social media, you've seen have seen the video, we're going to clear their shelves off. And what that doesn't just do is empower that business, but it creates energy. It creates that we can be successful. We can work together. And that's just not for Black individuals. It's for all of us to come together and support these businesses that impact our communities and neighborhoods. And then last of all, we're doing Black Restaurant Week, the last week of March, where we're going to ask the community to infuse $500,000 into 25 Black-owned restaurants. We will track that. We will give prizes. We're working with the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as KeyBank, CSU, and some other great partners to do some great things to impact these businesses. So again, it kind of shows you we'll have billboards all throughout the city. And we've had some great sponsors, and some of you guys and supporters, you are on this phone today. And we thank you for helping us to do the work that we've done. So again, how do you stay connected? Here's the website for you. Our social media, follow our social media. Send us an email if you have questions. But again, we can make impact together. The Real Black Friday is here to empower, to make sure we educate and we impact Black-owned businesses that the world is now watching, everyone. So again, it's because of great individuals like you and community leaders that we are so encouraged to do the work that we do. So again, I want to thank the Cleveland Leadership Center for even allowing me to have this conversation and briefly share what the Real Black Friday is all about.
Thank you so much, LaRese. Your energy is like contagious. I want to do something right now. So I'm so glad you incorporated that into your presentation of how everyone can help us today. So the work that you've been doing has had a major impacts on the small business community. Where have you seen the biggest impacts, and maybe where do you see the biggest opportunities that still exist?
I think the answer is the same for both. I think technical assistance, we talk about access to capital. I said that saying is I don't want people to get to the table too early and not be prepared to execute on the opportunity. So we've been spending a lot of time doing education. I see great partners on the phone today from Huntington Bank who've been very instrumental. Tri-C has been an instrumental partner in working with us to make sure that we provide educational opportunities, because we all know, we see that meme on social media and on websites that shows a small business owner with 10 hats on. They're the CFO, they're the marketing person, they're the HR person, they're everything to their business while trying to run it, because most small Black businesses are solopreneurs. If it's not the one person running the business, it's their spouse or a close family member. So again, they don't have the opportunity to really build that strong foundation that allows them to elevate. So we are intentionally spending a lot of time educating. And then once we educate, then we can move on to then tying them to resources that a lot of the great organizations on this phone are a part of. And I also saw Biz on here as well from BVU, working hard to make sure that they have a voice as well. That's important, that they're at the table, that they're able to share the community needs, and that they can sit on boards and be developed. Remember, these are leaders. They're leading people. So the more we create leadership opportunities, hence Leadership Cleveland Center, we want to make sure that we provide those opportunities.
Absolutely. So in kind of going along those lines, what kinds of things are most impactful for companies to introduce into their DEI strategy from what you've seen?
So one, the letter is not enough. And I'm looking across the room to everybody. A lot of you guys know we've talked about the letter before. So putting that on your website is not enough to make impact. We're glad that you say, hey, we want to be a part. We support what's going on. What's impactful is that when you put real measurable metrics and there's accountability put in place. Again, I have to speak. I see Bob and Tim from the YMCA. We're not just talking the walk. We're getting ready to do some major things in this community that's going to impact the urban part of our city. So again, we're talking about it at a board level, but it's not on the agenda and at the bottom of the agenda, but it's at the top and it's a priority. So we're being intentional. So if you don't, you got to look at your staff. You have to look at your leadership. You have to look at your commitment. What's the last event? If I ask company owners here, what's the last event you've been intentional, one, to either support a business or go and volunteer or attend a business activity in the Black community? So a lot of cases, people go where they're familiar. So I say be intentional and let's hold each other accountable.
That's awesome. Your events have been very multi-generational. Can you talk a little bit more about how you've been so successful in engaging people of all ages and why that's important?
It's important. If something's going to last, it has to be multi-generational. It's called succession. We talk about it at a corporate level. How are we going to ensure leadership is in place when the current leader leaves? It's the same thing in community. Communities are going to evolve, needs and wants. And if you're going to address the entire community, you can't just address it at one generation. You have to make sure you address it at all. If the YMCA, if Business Volunteers Unlimited, if Cleveland Leadership is going to continue to get leaders that come, we got to make sure that we're talking to leaders that are just starting their careers, leaders that are getting ready to go to college. So the same thing with the Real Black Friday. What we do is, and throughout our day, we're very intentional that we use young speakers, young artists, and we make sure that we hit every group. So our team, and I see some of my team members on here today, we make sure, Tasha and Q and Shar, we make sure that we put that at top of mind. So every time we do an activity, we say, hey, what do we have for every age group? So it attracts the whole family. So we don't have to divide the family on a Sunday. They can come collectively together and feel like they're going to get something. But what that's going to do too is people ask me, well, why can you still talk to 18-year-olds in our community? Because I stay relevant. I stay next to young people. I hear their voice. I know their needs, not my needs, their needs. So that's very important that we do it, so we make sure that we're able to continue this success.
Do you have regular meetings for the group?
Yes, a lot of meetings. So we won't ask you to attend every one of them, but we meet probably twice a month. On a regular basis. Once a month is already on our calendars, but twice a month. And depending on the activity, we'll have more. So we have a great team of professionals that work throughout this community that are part of the group and a part of our board. So we work hard, to make sure that we stay in tune. And I think that's important too, Angela, because if you want to stay relevant as a group too, you can't just do what's important to you, but you got to be aware of what's going on in the community in the current time. So if something like Memphis happens, we got to make sure we're having a conversation to say, how is that going to impact entrepreneurs? How is it going to impact our youth? So what conversation should we be having, or what should we be supporting to make sure that the community know that we're going to be there to support them through different challenges in our communities?
Yeah, the work that you do and the approach you have is so comprehensive. Collaboration must be key for what you do. So can you talk a little bit about how you approach collaboration with business partners and community leaders to get things done?
So the best way and the most simple way is, one, when you approach leaders, figure out what's in it for them. And I tell people, at the end of the day, if the wise, I keep using them as an example. I see Dana on here as well. I see a couple familiar faces on here. But when I'm talking to business partners here in the community, what is your focus? What we don't want to do is make our vision your vision and send you out of alignment, because then it's going to be a one-time occurrence. But if I can tie to your what your mission or your vision is for the year, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be engaged. Because then it's going to meet your metrics. It's going to encourage your team to stay involved. So if I talk to a company or organization, they say, LaRese, well, we're focused on healthcare this year. Well, that's not our area. So what we're going to say is, hey, we'll catch up with you. But if we can support you, because you have to show yourself friendly, sometimes you have to do the work in order for people to come back and do the work. So, and then the other thing, collaboration is key. I cannot, as a leader in this community, ask people to be collaborative and they don't see collaboration. So that billboard I showed you, and some of you have seen billboards throughout the city, if you ever notice, there's probably 6 to 7 faces on every billboard I put up. And the reason why that is, one, you kids can't be what they don't see. So I want kids in our community to say, oh, I see that Black doctor. I see that Black dentist. Oh, I want to be like them. Oh, I see that Black entrepreneur. So again, but then I want them to see themselves and see they can be as big as they want to be as well. And so again, collaboration, I lead with that. And then again, I just want to be a good partner and hear what my partner's needs as well, so we all can be successful. It's a great thing when the community wins, the company that supports you wins, you win, and everybody involved wins. That's a powerful thing for our community.
What has surprised you most in doing this work?
That I started it and it was a God-given, I'm a Christian man, unapologetically, and God gave me the vision. And I remember standing on the chair in my bedroom on a Monday morning, traveling from Detroit, speaking to some entrepreneurs, and I could not sleep. I was off that day, and it has stayed with me ever since 2015. And I thought it was crazy. I called Greg Beckham from B&M's Barbecue, if anybody knows who that is. I called him, Maisha from New Life. I said, if I'm crazy, I'm going back to bed. They told me, you're not crazy. I think it's a great idea, but I didn't realize the need. And sometimes we all know, I look at some leaders across this platform today, and you guys run nonprofits, and you know one thing you don't run out of is vision, but we know what we do run out of is resources. So I didn't realize the greatness of the need and how much there was a void in certain areas. We have some great organizations doing this similar work and have been making impact for generations in this community, but we were able to do it in an innovative and creative way in some aspects. And I'll tell you, it has been a surprise of the pool. So I'll give an example. Huntington knows we just did something at Tri-C. I was their entrepreneur in residence. And within I went to bed at 11 o'clock. I posted that we had an entrepreneurial class. I woke up at 6 a.m. My phone was dinging because they only wanted 50 spots. We had 125 people register and people were blowing up. We had 450 businesses come through that 4-part series. So again, the need is big. And again, so that's where partnerships, great organizations like you all, us collaborating together is going to be important. So that's what really surprised me. And then the hard work. It's a heavy lift. We all know when we do what we love, it's not easy, but God will give you everything you need to make sure it's successful.
And I know you do this work kind of in other cities as well. What do you see from Cleveland specifically as being kind of our niche or the thing that can really help pull us forward in comparison to maybe other cities that you've visited?
They say that, and we've heard the mayor say, people have called us a mistake on the lake, but we're the greatest city in the nation. And I truly believe that when I go and talk about the Real Black Friday and entrepreneurship around the nation, which in 12 different cities last year, from DC to LA, speaking about this, one thing Cleveland has is, and they always laugh at me because my wife and my family and Tasha and Q and Shard know I don't get on a plane without wearing Cleveland. Because I want you to say something about Cleveland when I'm sitting next to you, that I'm going to share the greatness of our city. We are passionate. We are collaborative. We want to work together. We've had the challenge. We know our challenges, but we know that if we work together, we can overcome a city that's impoverished, a city that they say is not a good place for Black women entrepreneurs to exist in. So again, what that does is it drives me to then try to then say, hey, you in LA, come back to Cleveland, bring some of your great corporate, relationships to help impact our businesses. So it's our passion. It is our passion and our drive that we know we're great. And I always call it, we got a little swag to ourselves when we come out of Cleveland. A couple of y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah.
That's wonderful. So how do you populate the website? How do you find businesses to feature and how can we bring those to you?
So great question. And I see great people like Paul on here as well from the Cleveland Foundation. There's organizations that have been supportive over the years as well. I would say we had an issue about right after the NBA All-Star, our website got taken over. And some of you guys know from a corporate perspective how that can be. And we're not going to pay a ransom. So for that, so we're in the process of actually rebuilding the site now because we have some big activities coming on. And so all they have to do is very easy. Go to the Real Black Friday, put their business information in, and then what we do is then we approve them. One, because we still are a family, organization. So with certain content we won't allow to be on the site. So we still have some, decision making. But I'll say I want to make sure I say this beyond the website. We have something coming up, our flagship, the second week of August. And if you guys have noticed, people ask me, why do you do certain things you do? Well, not only, again, is it for the business owners, but it's for the community. Well, we've been on public square. So what I try to do is, for example, is bring the community back to places that when we were growing up, those were, you don't go there. It's not the place for you to be. It's not attractive. So we went to Edgewater when the Metro Parks took over and beautified that park. We brought the community back so they could be exposed to the beautiful park system that now is leading the nation. We took them to public square after renovations took place and it was ready after the RNC. So we wanted our community to be re-exposed to the waterworks, Revo and all the great assets. We took them to Tower City when we knew the development project was going to be announced for what was going to happen on the waterfront. So again, we're very intentional and strategic when we do things. We went for NBA All-Star. I'll give you a quick example. Ritz-Carlton connected to it. All the NBA stars and celebrities were going to stay there. The transportation came into it. We don't know what weather is going to be like in the winter. It's connected to the arena. So very strategic when we do things to make sure they're very impactful for the community.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, LaRese. We really appreciate your time, and it's been a pleasure having you today.
No, thank you. And again, to you and your team, I thank you for the opportunity. I hope to see some of you soon at some of the events. And again, during Black Restaurant Week, I'll say, if you can support people like the Cleveland Cavaliers said, hey, we're going to feed our staff for an entire week at a different restaurant. If you are willing to get involved and be supportive, reach out to us. We would love your support. And again, thank you to the Cleveland leadership. We all know, whoever's on this call, that the greatest class of all time is 2022. So to all you other Cleveland leadership alumni, I had to throw that shameless plug in, Bob, for sure. So thank you for the opportunity.